Welcome back to the Capes and Tights podcast right here on capesandtights.com. I'm your host, Justin Soderberg. This episode is a bonus episode with Paul Eaton of Galactic Comics and Collectibles in Hammond Street in Bangor, Maine. Available at galacticcomicsandcollectibles.com as well. We talked the Nick Fury Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. 1998 made-for-TV movie on Fox. Discussed its place in the Marvel lore right here on the Capes and Tights podcast. We also talked and previewed a little bit of Secret Invasion coming up on June 21st, 2023 to Disney Plus, featuring the ultimate version of Nick Fury, played by Samuel L. Jackson. So enjoy this episode with Paul Eaton of Galactic Comics and Collectibles on Hammond Street in Bangor, Maine, right here on the Capes and Tights podcast. Enjoy, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I always want to be like this, like monotone, like welcome back to the podcast, Paul Eaton of Galactic Comics and Collectibles. But no, welcome, right? We gotta be excited for this. It's Monday.
Woo, yeah, yeah. It's a fill-in podcast episode. You couldn't find someone better, so let's get Paul back on again.
Well, I debated. It was so funny as I went back and forth. So we obviously have scheduled podcasts going up. Like we have pretty much until August. Right? Going up, and then I every once in a while people need to switch. So Matthew Klein had a problem, had a veterinary problem, so he had to switch his podcast episode date. So I had to switch some numbers around, and then I thought every once in a while when I do that, there's certain episodes that get stacked, and I reorder some and all that stuff. And I was like, should this episode just be another episode, and should every episode just be numbered? So like this would be technically this would be like episode number 112. Or whatever,
instead of a bonus one.
Instead of a bonus, or should I just say all movie reviews and special things like this are bonus episodes, and then if I have a guest on that's a comic creator or comic artist, comic writer, or whatever, is the numbered episodes. And I was trying to go back and forth on that, and so on and so forth. So because there's nothing stopping the Capes and Tights podcast from releasing 2 episodes in a week that are both numbered. I think my mindset went to, if it's Wednesday, it's a numbered episode. If it's not a Wednesday, it's a bonus episode. And I think that's where I landed. Just
that
because
makes sense.
Even if you just came on to talk and shoot the shit about comics and had nothing to do with this whole Nick Fury thing, it would be just a bonus thing because it's not on a Wednesday. And that's where I think I landed. So that's what we're doing here.
I wonder how many of the listeners to Capes and Tights out there care how this is numbered or even know. Like, I think
it goes down to, I just listened to 2 of my favorite podcasts, the Off Panel podcast with David Harper from Sketch.com, and the Fat Man Beyond with Kevin Smith and Mark Bernardin. Both Kevin.
I used to listen to that until he kept promoting the manscaping.
Yes.
So much that I was like, I feel like I'm listening to a Manscaped podcast. It's like a podcast about shaving.
Mark Bernardin and David Harper have both been guests on the podcast. Kevin Smith one of these days will come on, but
oh yeah.
They both hit episode 400, and both of them were 400-ish, because technically, we hit episode 100 with Kyle Starks, but there was a number of bonus episodes in there. They were just small one-off things. And it's really, it was episode 125 if you counted each individual.
It's like the world of comic books where we need to get to 1,000, so let's make up a few in between to say that.
Should I start doing that? This is bonus episode, but it's legacy episode number whatever.
Get the number count up, man.
Yeah,
get that number count up.
This is legacy number 151, because and that's the other thing. I'll talk about comics. I almost did our reviews. We do reviews on the website, right? Comic book reviews, and I almost did it, and I think I might go back and change it to be a comic book rating system rating. So instead of it 1 to 5 stars, to do the 5 stars is a 10.0. And or I would say 5 stars maybe is 9.8, and then
9.8, right?
And then 9.6 would be a 4.5, and or whatever, and doing it down there and do the actual grading system as your comic book rating system. I thought it'd be kind of cool too. A very good is a 6 or something like that. Or
yeah,
good.
That's cool.
Very good. Good. Is 6 good or very good?
The VG I think is VG. 6 if I remember. I've got to go through.
We don't know comic books at all.
I got to go through and memorize that. System.
It's
the fine, the very fine versus the 8.0, the 7.0.
It's all arbitrary because we don't really know.
No, it's all a guessing game.
Why is this a 9.4? It's also really old.
I was really happy that the book that I got signed by Jim Starlin when we were in New Hampshire came back a 9.8.
Yes.
I nailed it.
I'm surprised we didn't. Oh, we did drop it off. Luckily, we dropped it off.
We dropped off before we started
because
drinking.
if we would have after we were drinking, it would have been a 1-0, a 5.
I would have even found it again.
It would have been a 0.5. Yeah. 6 years later, be like, oh, look at this! It's between the seats in my car. Oh, that was a fun. It was actually brought up, I think, on a previous episode. That episode about being a little intoxicated when I talked to who was it that I talked to? Was it Dennis Hopeless or John Allison? It was the John Allison episode. We talked about it being a little too far because I asked, and someone should go back and listen to this. But I asked on that podcast. I think you listened to it. I'm pretty sure you listened to it. But the idea of him wanting to he doesn't do commissions anymore. But it does, just like, except for beer can artwork. And I said, well, how many cans have you done? He goes, none. That's the point. I really want to do one. And I was thinking to myself,
damn, there's your opportunity.
We should do one with them. I mean, he lives in England. That was the whole point. We can't get him free beer.
Oh, yeah, you can't get him any beer.
It's a very oh, sorry, I just got a text message. Yeah, free
international shipping on alcohol is probably a little.
I told him whenever he comes over here, we'll just set it up that whenever he comes over here, we'll just give him some beer every time instead of the beer that he's worked on. We'll just give him beer in perpetuity.
It's just beer. Just
every time he comes out. But yeah,
nice. Nice. I think I was listening to that podcast actually.
See, listen. That's when you texted me and said, "Do we get a sponsor?"
Yep.
Yes, we did. Kind of.
I was impressed.
Fred, the Star Wars fan-made story, Mud 79, is available now on Curious Cast, and Fred will come on in August in between the first season and the second season to talk about that as well. I know you're going to listen to it as a big, humongous, diehard Star Wars fan. I knew you were so excited for it, but
just engulf my life in Star Wars.
You can't see it anymore, but these are all Star Wars minifigs or small 5-inch ones. There's some over here now.
Oh yeah, no, I can't. You're right.
There's Han Solo and Yoda. And
what's the green thing over there? But you got a Secret Invasion book, I see.
Oh, yeah. This one?
Yeah, what's that green guy? Yeah.
That's the one I bought from you. It's the
I
don't know his name.
Oh. I would say it's funny because that stands out. It's just super green against that black. Oh, it's come on. Begins with a G.
It's a Greedo?
Greedo, yeah.
I didn't think it was, but now as a humongous Star Wars fan I am.
Yeah, I was gonna say come on now.
I get brain farts.
You gotta know this more than I do.
I'm almost 40 years old. Let's I have some more coming too on the way. So
good.
Well, they're only like this guy's selling them on eBay for like $3, and it's all of them are none of them have the accessories really.
That's the thing. Like with vintage loose Star Wars figures with no weapons, they're pretty much $3 a piece.
Which I don't mind.
There's a couple. There's a few that aren't, but most of them.
Well, I guess
there's gonna be one person right now that's gonna comment on this episode of like, oh yeah, how about the Boba Fett prototype? Yeah, okay, sure. But your loose naked Star Wars figures are like $3. Like loose naked Ninja Turtles. They're not all $3, but most of them are.
And so I just thought, why not have these little figures around and add more to it? And I bought other random things too.
That's cool.
The guy at the store had like I bought a couple of gargoyles and Bebop and Rocksteady. I bought a couple of figures from Small Soldiers. Remember that movie from
I've never seen that movie.
Such a great
Isn't that
movie.
Terrible? Isn't that terrible? Everybody comes in and they're shocked that I've never seen that movie. I need to watch it.
How about we do a review of Toy Story of Small Soldiers?
See, that's why I can't watch it, because I'm busy watching the 1999 epic movie TV film Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
We're going to get into that in 2 seconds, but I wanted to know, how's the shop?
Shop's good. Shop's good. Busy. I'm sure if we go back through our conversations, I've probably said this like 20 times that we're looking for a new location because we're so busy that we need to find more space to spread out and do shenanigans in. No, that's very nice. A little Greedo on the mic there. But yeah, everything's going really well. Like the comic scene's busy. Our book club is booming. I think we can say that. Trade paperbacks are flying out of here. We've had to start a clearance section because I keep buying stuff, so we gotta move stuff that's been sitting too long. Like, all right, let's get it out.
I saw that you had some. What was the action figures I picked up the other day?
Oh,
There's two. Cobra Kai.
Marvel Legends.
No, were they Cobra
Kai?
The
Karate Kid, yeah.
Karate Kids figures. I was like, oh my god, I want these. But I was like, there's the problem is with me buying things in package still, it hurts me to open it. Like there's certain ones I have in package. Like I have my Run the Jewels things in package. I have some things that are over here. My Ronin figures are in package. There's certain things that stay in the package, but there's things like that where I buy on clearance and I don't give a shit. I'm like, I want to open this, but that's why I'm like, then I'll just find it somewhere like this Greedo figure open and loose already, so don't ruin someone else's childhood.
Oh, just open it.
I know.
The funny thing is, that came in. I bought all 3 figures together: the Johnny Lawrence, the Daniel, and the Mr. Miyagi. And the Mr. Miyagi sold.
Yeah, but someone didn't buy
the other 2 are sitting here, and I was like, somebody came in and was like, "Oh man, I gotta have Mr. Miyagi."
I can see that, but like,
sitting here, like,
is Mr. Miyagi the reason we all watched it though? Like, I think that's the reason. Like, but I understand that. But like, if it was me, it's like, did I like? I'm a big X-Files fan, huge fan of Fox Mulder. I liked Scully, but I'm never gonna buy something that's just Fox Mulder. Like, I bought something on eBay recently that's gonna be coming in. It's Fox and Scully, and a Gurney, and like an alien. Like, it's all like one thing that I'm gonna put on the shelf.
Yeah.
And so it's like I wanted that whole set, and it's like.
Right.
You're like buying, the pop vinyls of just Fox or just Scully. Like it's Scully. I mean, it's one of those things that like I feel like I would buy Mr. Miyagi and at least what I mean, like
and Daniel, like together,
together.
And maybe it must have been
maybe they had Daniel,
add the other 2 or whatever, right? Because it's just funny. On Mr. Miyagi, I would not have guessed that was going to be the mover, and I'd be putting the 2 on clearance like a year later.
I'm surprised around clearance, honestly. Cobra Kai is a huge thing right now, and all that stuff.
I don't know how I still have these things. I've been chilling. The store's been really good. We just picked up another CGC graded collection. Speaking of graded comics, I got those over the weekend, so that's cool. Was busy out buying and trading and bartering and doing ridiculous things.
And do you see trends at all right now? I mean, I'm in your shop a couple of days a week usually, and we see some things, but do you see like people trade waiting a lot more, but single issues going up there? Is there a problem with the number of issues being released? I know this past month like I'd say month, but the last 4 weeks have been kind of screwed up because we're located in New England. If anybody doesn't know that listening to this podcast is there was a problem with distribution of Marvel and IDW comic books with the truck accident. And so there was 1 week with almost 70 titles on it on your pull list. And they were all new. It was like 2 weeks old because of the fact
2 weeks old because of the truck accident.
Have you seen people buying single issues? I mean, I see talk to you like
split, I think. I mean, I think the number of trades we're selling has grown, and I don't know if some of that's just the fact that we have grown our customer base so much more, or if it is more people getting into it. And it's also something I recommend a lot just because I read trade. So it might be people just kind of following in my footsteps of that's what I say. So, oh, well, Paul does it, I should grab a trade. But I mean, there's still plenty of floppy collectors out there that are doing the month to month, and I see a lot of the test trying, and I think that's another thing where we push independent comics so much. Those indie number ones are just going right out of here because people are like, well, let's see what this is about. Let's try this one. I just got the poll list put out yesterday for this coming Wednesday, and we got some new indie stuff in there, and I see the number ones are all getting gobbled up quick. So, but yeah, that's been the big push, I think.
It's funny, as you talked about the other day about how there's a really strong possibility that comics go to the regular cover price of $4.99 within the next 12 to 24 months, and so on and so forth. But honestly, it sounds like money grabbing, and it sounds like a problem that the distributors might get some backlash on. But why wouldn't you charge like $4.99 for a 22-page issue number 1? And then charge $3.99 for the rest. You know what I mean? Like, get that extra buck on the first issue, which you're likely going to sell out of, or most of.
Right.
Issue 2, 3, and 4 are the ones that honestly it should be weighted. Issue 1, $6.99, and issue 2, 3, and 4, if a 4-issue city series, are $2.99. So you get your money, but maybe you get a couple extra people to buy the extra issues because of the fact that they're cheaper. You know what I mean?
They're cheaper, and like, you know what? I will follow that series along. Yeah.
I could definitely maybe comic books would sell less if they happen. I don't know, but I do see a lot of people buying number ones in indie number ones. So 2 reasons. One, I think indie comics are great right now. The second reason is that I think a lot of people are like, is this going to be optioned? And they want.
Yeah, we got to speculate on the fact that this could take off because so many independent comics have now. So here's a thought I had. with so much stuff getting optioned, is it going to get to a point where the speculating market on that is just going to die off because you can sort of assume it's going to get optioned?
Yes and no, because I think
it's still going to be some if the show takes off and is really successful, or the movie is huge versus it not taking off particularly.
Well, so here's the deal. So one of the things I talked about someone else about is like I think it was Cullen Bunn and maybe someone else. So it might have been J Bon and Singa, but like just because it's option doesn't mean it's going to be made. So that's one of those weird things that I feel like if anybody sees comic X, Y, and Z get option and you're really like, and you have it and it goes up to $50, you might actually be, if you're trying to like profit off of it, you might have to just being better to just sell it then. There's certain books that like, I feel like I'm still holding on hard to that Something's Killing the Children. I mean, Netflix, I feel like once it hits the screen at home, then it's going to bump again. Like, it's like one of those things that it gets the instant bump from option when the news comes out, it's option. And then it gets that extra bump when it actually has like a release date and so on and so forth.
The people that don't follow this world that all of a sudden see it and then find out it's a comic book and they're like, well, I've got to have that. And that's where it gets that extra big push in value. Absolutely.
But I do say, I was trying to look up something. So I read a series not too long called Dead Day. I don't know if you ever heard that series. I forget who
Dead Day. Yeah, I remember that. That came out a year and a half ago or so.
It dropped May.
That was
May 27th, 2020. But that's Ryan Parrott. That's who it was. It was Ryan Parrott who writes Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers. Ryan Parrott.
Oh, Power Rangers. Gotcha.
Yeah, and it was on Aftershock, and it came out. So that got optioned by Paramount and went direct to series. So that's one of those things that was like not even an option for a pilot or whatever. And it's like, oh, cool. So I read this book and I really liked it. So I had to put it on my wish list on Amazon, or not Amazon, on eBay. And I was like, I'll buy a copy. I just been dragging my feet. And I was like, oh, I wonder if every once in a while I like go online, just like, I wonder what the progress of this has been. I mean, it's been 3 years. What's the progress? And then I read an article that came out in January that they have canceled it and it's been deleted from the roster. So that book went from a $3.99, $4.99 cover price. I mean, it was probably $3.99, $4.99 cover price to a $15, $20 book. The second got new to the option, but is it now worthless because it got dropped? However, they're shopping the rights. So does it get picked up by someone else and jump back up in value, or is it just like, okay, it's done? It's going to be one of those. It's not going to be a mega hit, and that's I think the difference between speculating market nowadays. It's like the books only go up in value if it's a mega hit. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain books that jump immediately. They're not over cover price, but they don't ever get to the point where they're free for it. I mean, there's Something's Killing the Children, $400 or $500 books is not for every single option thing. So I don't know. I think it's a little bit of everything. And I think personally, I like, me, I'm a floppy kind of guy. I like to have the collections. I like to be able to hold on to things. I like to be able to bag and board. I think it's I've written an article for our website about it being a mental exercise, an escape from the crazy world we live in. Is I can sit here, put a movie on above me right here and just bag and board and put issues away and organize. And on Saturday, I went through and any issues that are missing that are not in my database to make sure that I'm not overbuying or buying multiple copies or yada, yada, yada. And I think that's an escape.
You want to come over and do my collection? Because I haven't had time and they're piling up.
And I think it's just an escape for me. And I wrote about how about mental health wise, it's like I'm not buying anything or paying any money to sit in my office here and go through the books that are behind me and make sure that like, okay, crap, I'm missing Firepower number 19. I don't know what happened. I must have missed it on poll. I must have whatever. So I got to check in to see who has it and so on and so forth. And then I maybe purchase it. Or I have a list right here actually somewhere of like comics that like there's a list of comics. It's hard to see because it's white, but a list of comics that I'm missing. And I was like, I buy enough comic books from you that every once in a while one gets pulled, doesn't get pulled, whatever it may be. And that to me is a big thing. But I understand the trade waiting and I understand the binging aspect that we've come to get used to in this world.
I think that's probably one of my biggest factors in trade is being able to sit there and binge the entire story and get it all in one go. I think that's my big factor. I don't have the patience to wait like between the issues. Last Ronin about killed me when I was reading that issue to issue.
Well, that's different. That
was an unreasonable length of time between one issue.
Yeah, I don't understand that. To me personally, I don't understand if it wasn't the Turtles, would it have done this? Like, that's the thing. Because to me personally, I'm like, can you imagine if a TV show just came out with an episode like once a month, like a comic book? So TV shows come out weekly, right? Yeah. Or when they're serialized like that, they're weekly. and us living in the comic book world is monthly. So if a TV show came out weekly, started coming out monthly, like these came out every 3 months or so, would it still have that, like, I don't know. I feel like it would be a pain. It's even more of a pain.
Can you imagine if there were only like a 27-minute episode or whatever doing that? Like if it was like quote unquote movie length, maybe you could like stick with
even
them.
that, people are kind of upset with the new model at Netflix, the whole part 1, part 2 thing. Like they released part 1 in June, like The Witcher season 3, whatever's coming out, part 1 coming out in June and part 2 coming out in July. And they're like, I just want to watch the whole thing. And it's like, well, do something else in your life other than watch The Witcher. But no,
that's the instant gratification we live in now, the world we live in.
Yeah.
Like my kids never knowing what it's like to get up and have Saturday morning cartoons and that be it. Like,
there's certain things in the comic book industry that could do that. I think Saga having a couple year wait can do that. I think, the Turtles having every 3 months come up with something cool like that. I can see that. Those certain people who can do that, and I think that they'd be fine. It's just hard to think of everything being able to do that. Yeah. And that's one of those things that I was talking about at the comic book shop. I'm not going to call out any names or any publishers or anything like that, but there's a comic book that I was waiting for number 5 on. I couldn't find it. And then I talked to the creator, and the creator said something about the publisher having issues and all that stuff. And I said, like, we're still hoping that they figure those issues out and we can release it. And I'm like, it's already been 4 or 5 months or 4 months since issue 4 came out. If you say, even if they get things figured out in the next couple months, when is that going to be published? Is it a year later issue 5 comes out? It's like, at that point, are we even going to get an issue 5? If they get it figured out, are we just going to get a 5-issue trade? And issue 5 never exists, and that's probably what's going to happen. Like we talked about, what's going to happen is the way that goes. So, if it was issue 2 or 3, maybe they would have said, okay, let's continue the series on. But with it being the last issue, it just seems like a waste, especially because this distributor I was talking about is having financial issues. I don't know why I'm hiding it. It's Aftershock. Aftershock is the one that went bankrupt or is filing or in chapter 11 right now. It's not like it's not.
And it kind of surprised me to be Aftershock because I feel like they're not a big independent printer, but that almost might, you would think, keep them safe if they're not huge.
The 2 recent ones, the big one, I say big ones, Aftershock, and then IDW with their restructuring. Both of them have media holdings, which is TV and movies and shit like that. Which seems like if you're a comic book publisher, to get into that industry, seems like it's a lot more money to do this. I was gonna say, and if it doesn't work out, it's a lot more risk.
A lot of money for that, and the risk on that is huge, I would think.
Yeah. So, transitioning media holdings and all that stuff. Let's talk Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. There's no real reason because there's absolutely zero connection except for the fact Nick Fury name will be in this TV show Secret Invasion coming up on June 21st. Is that we wanted to watch this. I just was going through something. I forget what it was. Oh, I watch movies a lot, like just randomly in my office. And I was trying to find movies that are like hour and a half, hour 20 to get some non-3-hour movies. And I watched Watchmen. And I was like, okay, I need something smaller than that.
You don't want to put Titanic on in the background.
No. And so I searched in my database of movies for a hour-and-a-half movie, so on and so forth. The Nick Fury Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. came up, and I was like, oh, God damn it, we need to watch that. And then I thought, well, if I'm going to watch it, I might as well watch it with Paul and make Paul watch it, and we'll do it. So I will say, it came out, what did I say? It came out in 1998?
Was it 99, right?
Nope, 98. Because it's 25 years old.
Wow. Oh, hey, look, 25th anniversary-ish.
Yes. Well, 20, we talked because we actually talked about doing this episode. That's the fun thing about this. It's like, so I messaged Paul and I was like, are you free on June 12th? We're going to do a recording, And he goes, cool. Yes. I go, now that I say you booked the episode, now you need to watch Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., a made-for-TV movie back from 1998. And then
now let me tell you what you're doing.
I looked it up. That day we talked, Paul, was May 26th. 2023. We literally talked on the 25th anniversary of this movie because that's when it came out. It was May 26th, 1998. So it's kind of funny how we did that. And so Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., to clarify for anybody who's listening to this or watching this, Nick Fury that you see in this movie is the regular Marvel Universe Nick Fury. The Nick Fury we see in the movie,
original Nick Fury,
was the ultimate version of Nick Fury, which was actually designed after Samuel L. Jackson. So it came before he was actually cast, but it was the whole idea was like we would see the Marvel Ultimate Universe, this being the Nick Fury we want. And then obviously he came on board and he's been the Nick Fury. I mean, he's been in so many different things, but like in my mind, I still picture him with the eye patch on as Nick Fury. So I think that's pretty funny to see that. But it came out in 1998, so we're 25 years old. It was a backdoor pilot, Paul. It was supposed to be a TV show. So the idea was
I was gonna say the way it ends, you can feel that they are hoping that this is gonna get picked up. Yeah.
And
it's funny because
I
seem to look back. Looking back at my childhood era, this like there were a lot of sci-fi action adventure series running, so I guess it makes sense. This was their big probably hope. That was this an ABC? Did you say? Is this what this was? Fox. Okay. All right.
Which is funny because Fox ended up going on to own like all the Fantastic Four stuff and all X-Men, and this came out 4 years after the non-released Fantastic Four movie. And it's one of those things that we watched the Fantastic Four movie. This movie was better. I will say that it was not by far, but if you had a gun to the head, a
little better.
You're on a TV, you're at Marvel. Pick one of these two movies to put on TV and actually show to people. Yes, I can understand why they picked
I'd probably go with
Nick Fury. First of all, Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. has less, just like the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show that came out on ABC, has less special effects needed. It can be more practical effects. Like there's like at least the Fantastic Four is like it was so much with superheroes flying and flames.
It's so hard with the Human Torch and how he looks when he's on fire and firing and just the Thing in general. I mean, the Thing's gotta be super hard. That's a lot of like costuming and this and that to do, I'm sure.
So versus
this pretty much covers regular humans, like they're secret agents.
Yeah, it's a cop show. It's what it is. Cop show, James Bond. All that stuff.
You got some random sci-fi stuff.
Yeah.
Can I say? And okay, so I grew up absolutely loving Knight Rider as a kid.
Yes.
I remember getting up and during the day and like trying to keep track of when Knight Rider was coming on TV so I could watch it because that was my jam. I guess I would have thought David Hasselhoff was like a better actor. Maybe. I don't know. Like this was.
Did he phone it in though? Like it's my question. Like
right.
I guess not. Why would you do that? I mean, back in what was Knight Rider out?
And they were hoping to make this a series, right? Like it was very cornball, like, and I don't think it was necessarily intentional. It wasn't like your 66 Batman stuff.
Yeah,
I don't think it was intended to be as quote unquote cheesy as it was.
Yeah,
it's pretty
hokey.
Know.
It is pretty
hokey. And like I'm assuming this was sort of like a family action adventure series we're trying to do. Like there's a lot of like gunfire and shooting and stuff, but like no blood or anything. But still like the overall acting was just not all that good.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what other movies other than Baywatch. In Knight Rider.
Baywatch, Knight Rider.
Knight Rider in the 80s. Yeah, he was on self-industry strokes, but not like an actual like regular. It's
funny because David Hasselhoff is kind of famous for being David Hasselhoff, like
yes,
to a degree,
which is also
right?
kind of funny. Do you think James Gunn wrote in the Guardians of the Galaxy that David Hasselhoff was the person that Star-Lord was in love, like wanted to be, or his father
be his dad? He pretended
because of this. Do you think it's a pseudo like Easter egg? Like, you know what I mean?
That'd be pretty amazing, really. Like,
if I had the opportunity to ask James Gunn, I would love to ask him that question because of the fact that it would be funny if that's the specific reason why. It'd be like saying if there was more of a famous person in that Fantastic Four movie, if they were just using that as a character.
Using him as the person. Yeah, because like this was I never knew that there was a David Hasselhoff S.H.I.E.L.D. movie, Nick Fury movie out there. So that would have been great if he saw this at some point and was like, you know what, I'm gonna have him obsessed with David Hasselhoff.
Or Hasselhoff, according to other characters in the Guardians of the Galaxy. No, so the funny thing about this movie, so David Hasselhoff stars in it as Nick Fury.
Yeah.
The cool thing to me is there's a lot of actual Marvel-centric characters that we don't get. Like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on ABC didn't bring in Val, and he didn't bring in Andrea von Strucker. Obviously, there's because of the fact that there's other moving parts now than there weren't in 1998.
Were then.
But like Dum-Dum Dugan was in this. And
by the way, not well casted Dum-Dum Dugan.
No, not at all.
He doesn't act like him. Basically, we got his name.
Yes.
But I was impressed with the amount of name dropping of Marvel characters there was in this. Yeah, there was quite a few name dropped things. Hydra is definitely like evil.
Yeah,
like they're evil.
I love that Hydra aspect of it's one of my favorite things. I mean, I have a Hydra pin. It seems so weird because it's technically Nazis, but like it's fake. Come on, people.
Well, and like realistically, it's gone beyond that, right? Like the
yes.
Red Skull had worked as a Nazi, but then he himself started picturing himself like that Hitler didn't have big enough plans for domination, and Red Skull's like moved beyond the Nazis, and like so Hydra and the Red Skull, I feel like have gone away from that enough that you can say that it's not necessarily it's an origin because of Captain America.
But I think it's like it's one of the faults that we have, and one of the things I love about Marvel is the fact that it's based in the real, like we've talked about, it's based in the real world. I'm using air quotes here, people.
Right.
Based in the real world, meaning that we talk about real things in this world.
Well, like this has New York City in it. New York City, Manhattan is like
real locations. So Hydra had to be connected to something negative and something bad, and I think that's why the Nazis were involved in this whole thing, like back in the creation of it. But like
in the 1940s was when Captain America and the Red Skull were created, so it makes perfect sense. If this is the DC universe, Hydra would have just been Hydra. It wouldn't have been connected to any Nazis. So it's like, would it be okay? Is it okay for me to like villain organizations that aren't connected to the Nazis? But it's one of those things. As I've talked to Jay Cochran, our tattoo artist, about that, about like how I love it's a tattoo or a drawing that someone has out there. It's half the Shield logo, half the Hydra logo, and I've always battled back and forth on whether or not I want to put that on my skin, because I'm like, well, Hydra kind of represents Nazis, and I'm like, it's not like, but it's not like I'm putting a swastika on my freaking body. It's a fake organization, people from a fake comic book. These are not real. And so it's one of those things that I've laughed about. But yeah, there's so much Easter eggs in a sense that it's not actual Easter eggs because they were making a movie based in the Marvel universe. So it wasn't like, but like to me watching it going, oh, that's kind of cool. That, I mean, it was definitely made for TV. It was I'm trying to remember
in the 90s.
You know, the hard part is like having my childhood like love of stuff that I watched. I'm trying to picture things I watched and going, is this on par? Like, is the other stuff I was watching then just as hokey or not?
I think so.
Because watching it, it's definitely super hokey. Like the Quinjet coming into land like looks like a model Quinjet, like in a backdrop.
This weekend, Paul,
there's a lot of weird like stuff that just doesn't like really look great, and I'm wondering like, did everything look that bad back then?
I think so.
And
it's hard to say too.
You didn't have high def, and you didn't have all these things, so like you got a lot of forgiveness in the like recording and filming of this stuff back then too. You can't hide it now.
We have this weekend I watched Star Trek Generations, and I watched First Contact, and I honestly have seen scattered episodes of Next Generation growing up and stuff like that, like here and there, and I thought, oh, I tackled the first 2 episodes, or technically the first 3 episodes of Next Generation, thinking like, oh, okay, Jonathan Frakes is coming to Bangor.
Yeah, those first 2 seasons of Next Generation are rough.
And so I thought to myself, those were made in the 80s, but Generations and things like that were made obviously after that. And so I thought to myself, like watching Star Trek Generation movie, when they looked at the bases and stuff that they were looking at, it looks like a model. And so like one of those things, like, would you put this on par with, I mean, I'm guessing Marvel and Fox is trying to make something that's on par, at least with like Star Trek, because that was a big sci-fi TV show.
Yeah, Star Trek was huge at the time. And
so I would imagine this would be on that same level.
A lot of Star Trek, you were getting space, so you could just have ships battling and, you know, the black backgrounds and some stars and this and that, versus this having to be in a real world environment. Like, so it definitely looks cheesy.
Yes.
But you know what? It's 1998. Like, do
you want me to tell you what the budget of this was?
TV movie. Like, what are you gonna get?
Can you guess what the budget was?
Ooh.
So the Fantastic Four.
$1 million?
First of all,
they got $1 million.
Well, first of all, if anybody wants to go back on our Spotify or Apple or whatever and listen to our episode on Fantastic Four movie, because we did talk about that. If you want to talk about that, listen to that. But Fantastic Four, we talked about that one, was made for $1 million. What do you think the budget on this
$1 million budget.
So what do you think it is?
Well, you know what? I bet Hasselhoff would have eaten up, I'm sure, a pretty penny of the budget. So let's go $1.5 million. We gotta pay Hasselhoff $6 million. Holy! I cannot believe they spent $6 million on this. Dear God, there's so many other things we could have done.
I was trying to think about it. If this is made for a backdoor pilot on a thing, you're talking But think about it. How much is this these new Lord of the Rings TV shows and Game of Thrones being made for?
Right.
Hundreds of millions of dollars. So it's if you think about it, in a sense, I can
understand. It's hard
this.
because the quality then, the quality now. So when you're looking at what $6 million bought you, then you're like, wow.
So the quality wasn't there, but it wasn't. No, it was a feature film that was put on TV. It was made for TV.
And you know what? There was a lot of sets in this. Like this wasn't like $6 million one set that you just kept going back to. Like there was numerous sets being used, I would say, throughout this movie, and filming like either in New York or Toronto or something, because they had like the street scenes going on. So there was a lot going on in this thing for sure.
It says $6 million made for TV. It's not available on US DVD, by the way. If you want to buy this for like to watch on your own DVD player at home, it's not available because it's only available on PAL, which is the DVD players from like Europe and stuff like that, which is really weird how like it's available in Europe, but it's not available here. It must be some sort of distribution right things or something.
Yeah, probably. Hopefully someday Disney Plus gets rights to this.
I think it would be great to have like a category on Disney Plus that has like the Fantastic Four unreleased movie, like the old Captain Americas and all that stuff, Thing, all these movies that were like oops, I wish we didn't make these movies.
Yeah,
like that's the category.
The cheese factor, just if you want cheesiness, man, here you go.
You think you think the Eternals was bad? Watch these.
I was just gonna say that. So you thought Eternals was bad? Yeah, that can be the target level of everything.
It shows it below, like when you watch the Eternals at the bottom of the screen, it says you might like these too. And it's like this category. It's like, okay, before you rate this movie, watch these movies.
So like when I watched Eternals, when I had COVID there, and I posted on Facebook like Gargoyles, the original Gargoyles animated series over Eternals.
Yes.
I might go Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. over Eternals for like entertainment factor.
Well, what did I say? I said the original Fantastic Four movie
Pip showing up. That last that last 20-second, 30-second clip of Pip and everything. I was telling my wife because she hasn't watched Eternals, and we were gonna go see Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm like, oh, you know what? You've got to see this because it could pop up in Guardians. And I fast forwarded through the entire movie. She's like, well, don't I need to watch this? I'm like, nope, you don't. There you go. That's all you got to see right here.
You know what I'm gonna love? As a big Marvel fan, I'm gonna love the fact that it is gonna become necessary. Like they're gonna like make a movie out in the next few years.
Somewhere you have to watch.
If you didn't watch Eternals, you were screwed watching this. But yeah. But I told you that I think the Fantastic Four movie that wasn't released was the best Fantastic Four movie that's ever been made.
It has higher ratings from fans, and like the Doctor Doom in it was dope. Like it was awesome.
Absolutely horrendous movie, but like
it's not good. No,
it's not. I mean, let's be honest. Fantastic Four has not done well. Like they're gonna put so much time, effort, and money into this new Fantastic Four movie because they have to make something that lives up. At least the Spider-Man movies, like people complain, like outside of the Marvel or outside of the comic book world, people complain that they've rebooted Spider-Man so many times. Right. And including this new Spider-Verse stuff that's like there's like 4 or 5 iterations of feature film Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But each one of them is like it has its own goodness. Like Tobey Maguire is obviously like one of the best, and then you have like Tom Holland is the best, I think, in my opinion, for live action. But it's not like the Andrew Garfield one's like absolute shit. It's like not as good as everything else, but not.
I personally think. I mean, I love Tom Holland, but I really, really enjoy Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man.
I think all the Spider-Mans have been hit out of the park. The actual
I didn't like
character Spider-Man.
But...
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I think the Spider-Mans themselves have been out of the park. It's the villains that have been like kind of, or the storylines that have been kind of questionable.
Wishy-washy.
The dancing on the street in a black suit.
Oh my God, I only watched that movie in the theater once. So that gives you an idea. I usually rewatch Marvel movies, and some of them I rewatch over and over again. I watched the third Spider-Man movie from Tobey Maguire in the theaters, and I have never watched that movie again.
I love they call
I keep going back thinking I might sometime. I need to get a copy to just have in here and just play it, and then it can be in the background. And every once in a while, I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I remember this now."
I love how they called themselves on the Spider-Verse movie, the first one.
Yeah,
he's like explaining to himself, like, "I'm the one and only Spider-Man." And he's going through the whole thing, and he's like, "And for some reason, I did this." And he's just walking down the street dancing. I love it. I love it to death. But so Paul, we've talked about this outside of recording.
Yeah,
Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., 1998. Was written by David S. Goyer. Okay, David S. Goyer is an excellent movie writer. Like, you know this for we'll talk about why. He's excellent. This is one of his early works. He's written multiple superhero movies. So, if I would have guessed, you had 1 million guesses. Would you have guessed? If I gave you 100 guesses that the guy who wrote the Dark Knight trilogy was the guy who wrote Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
No, I would not
have guessed that.
I will say, plot-wise, so that was some of my problems with the Fantastic Four movie, was like some of the plot that just flat out made no sense.
Yeah.
This has a beginning and end, like in the middle, there's everything connects. You have name dropping and like character developments and like there's stuff going on in here.
Yes.
I think I had a hard time with the acting. Nick, like David Hasselhoff was very blah. Like I don't even know. And it's funny because we talked in the store about this. 1998 and in real even to a degree today, he's a great cast. Like if you're gonna say, I mean, he looks like the Nick Fury of the comics.
My first note was not the worst casting to play Nick Fury. Honestly, if you were to tell me
the role. Yes, he's
got
like
the gray hair on the side there.
The gray hair
on
the sides,
the
height,
eye patch is perfect. Yes, the build.
Built, he's muscled. He's like, and he's an action adventure quote unquote like actor star from that era.
He's a hunk.
Like,
you know what I mean? Like he has that hunk aspect that people are attracted to him.
Right. Yeah, no, it like the David Hasselhoff casting you would have thought would have been like perfect. When I was like, when you told me this, and I was like, oh. Shit, like that's a perfect casting. But boy,
they spent the most money on that.
Yeah, and on screen, it's like you said, like he just kind of wrote it and he just didn't.
No,
he just phoned it in. Didn't really care. Honestly, like, I don't know. It didn't come across like he was trying to have a series made out of this thing.
He acted like he acted like he's dumb. Like he has no common sense. Like he's like a bimbo actor. You know what I mean? Like he acted like it was like he didn't really know what he was doing, even though like you watching Baywatch and things like that, he's actually really good in it. And like, you know, even though people don't watch Baywatch for David Hasselhoff's
I watched it a lot back then, but it wasn't for David Hasselhoff.
Wait, he was in that? No.
Right. Was it? That's weird.
Yeah. Yes. So, but also the other acting is crazy in the fake German accents on Struckers and all those people. Like it's just, Viper, it was really weird. You know, the other bad thing that made him worse, I think, is the one-liners.
Oh, the one-liners were bad. They were not even well.
Like, listen, ready for this, Roman?
Poorly delivered.
I'm gonna give you 3 of them. Ready for this?
Yeah.
Let us rock. Let us roll.
Yeah.
Not
good.
Looks like I heard it. I don't know why I wrote that one. That doesn't make any sense to me right now after watching it. I'll get that vampire's blood if I have to suck it from its neck.
What the hell? Yes. What the hell was that?
I was like, are you kidding me? The Von Strucker's kids are creepy. I tell you that much.
And the zoom in on him every time he was delivering one of these. You knew it was coming. It was almost like they backlit him and they zoomed in on his face and then he said a really bad line.
Do you remember CSI Miami? Did you ever watch any of that where the guy, I forget his name, but the main cast, they do the cold opening and he'd be doing something and he'd take his sunglasses off and he goes, looks like we have a dead body. And then would play the music. That's exactly what I felt like every time he said one of those things. He would 90s zoom in on him and he would say things like, let us rock, let us roll. And I'm like, what the are you kidding me? Like, did someone actually prove this? This is all you this is amazing. But yeah, that's hard because I think why. I think the writing has something to do with it. I do think that this is also a reason, Paul, why second chances are a big thing. That's why I'm always if you look at someone who's you have a regular customer in your store who's was very negative about everything and not Disney Plus has nothing good on it. And it's it's like the Eternals. If the Eternals was the first movie in the MCU ever, there's certain people who would never watch another MCU movie, even though the next few movies, Guardians 3 came out since then. So the Spider-Man movie has come out. So you have good
I went and saw
things.
Spider-Man this weekend, by the way. It was much better than the Nick Fury Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
But the idea that people don't give other chances to it, and the fact that he went on to write the Blade trilogy too.
Right.
He wrote the Blade trilogy, the Dark Knight trilogy, Man of Steel, Batman v Superman. So is that the director? The director has many other projects on it. So his name is Rod Hardy. He has many other projects, including the Powers TV show, which is based on the comics by Brian Michael Bendis. So which was really good, but no one saw though because it was on the friggin' Sony streaming network on their PlayStation 3 or whatever. But
I never saw it.
Yeah, that's the problem. But it was great.
Yeah.
So like, there's definitely one of those things that you have to give people opportunities. The guy was early in his career. He got the opportunity to write Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Cool. I'm sure there was other people involved in it. It's made for TV. That's the other thing.
Right.
Because it was made for TV, would we have gotten a little bit more like grungier? Like, I know Ultimate Nick Fury is a little bit more cleaner around the edges, whereas I feel like regular Marvel Universe Nick Fury, white Nick Fury, is grunge, like more, a little bit more rough on the edges. And so like, it has very that much more like
so the Nick Fury origin is that he fought in World War II.
Yes.
And got into some sort of serum gas or whatever in a battle that like gave him longevity. But Nick Fury to a degree doesn't really age.
No.
Like, where I feel like Steve Rogers awakens and the first thing he does is like he always has his morals from the 40s and this moral compass, but then Steve still is like trying to learn about this and that. And like Nick Fury just like what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
Like he's a gruff old dude that's used to fighting in trenches. And like that's what he is. You know what I mean? It's like forgiving grandpa for being inappropriate. Like that's Nick Fury. Like,
which is part of the reason why I think that once we'll get into it a little bit about talking about previewing Secret Invasion a little bit, but like that's why I think why Marvel went Ultimate, and one of the reasons is why Ultimate version is a little bit more a little bit more family friendly. Yes, no, it's a little bit more.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, it is way to Marvel Universe was able to diversify a little bit by putting the Ultimate Universe being African American, whereas adding an African American character in when there's not that many in the Marvel Universe in the first place, because
not many
characters were created in the 40s and 60s when there wasn't very much diversity.
Right. Yeah. Not a lot of mainstream stuff. Right. So it's a good opportunity to have that. And I mean, Samuel L. Jackson. I mean, anytime you can have Samuel L. Jackson, you say yes. Like, hell yeah.
But Nick, you mentioned the whole David Hasselhoff wasn't great at acting in this one, which was really apparent when you actually watch the movie.
Oh, bad. Yeah.
It was the only name that I recognized, but again, I grew up in the 80s. I was born in 86. I didn't
recognize anyone else.
So it's possible some of those other people could have been someone. I just didn't remember who they were. Every single Nick Fury still was the best character in this movie, if that says anything. We didn't like it that much. All the other characters, the Von Strucker kids, were creepy and weird, but not like, but more like they were. Yeah, I don't know. Arnim Zola was weird and awful. Everybody was really Dum-Dum. Dugan, we talked about, was just a weird casting on that. It was cool to see those people.
They threw the name in for it, but it was like we needed to have this guy. He could have just been some director of operations, so and it wouldn't have mattered because he didn't look like the character. He didn't act like the character.
Yeah.
It was, we just threw the name out there for the sake of name dropping him. I almost think more than anything. And he's friends with Nick Fury. Like that was they're friends.
Yes.
Some of the plot, I mean, the Pierce, the guy that was like Pierce, who was like a cheesy rookie SHIELD agent, whatever, like goofy cornball kid. Not overly well done.
No.
The opening sequence when you get Nick Fury, what the hell's he doing? But why is he in this
mining?
Yes.
He's trying to pay for his retirement. The SHIELD doesn't have a very good retirement package. He's looking for gold or coal.
What the hell?
Something.
What the hell is he doing? They never
something that shows he's muscular and he's off the. Yeah. They were trying to like, okay, how can we put this that he's strong off grid? Can you?
It's like the opening of Commando, where Arnold Schwarzenegger lives in the middle of nowhere and he cuts down the street and he's carrying the tree back. But we're like, well, we can't just rip off Commando, so let's have him swinging a pickaxe in a mine.
But why don't you just have him like in a cabin somewhere in the woods, like hanging out with a Unabomber or something? Like,
what the hell's he doing? And then the kid shows up and he starts beating on the like what looks like a cardboard door.
Yes.
And Nick Fury goes off and hides in the shadows, gets his gun and his stuff, and like then the kid comes out and randomly starts running down a wide open tunnel that I'm like, could have saved yourself some time, bro. Like, if there's a wide open tunnel in the back, why are you banging on the cardboard door out front? That took way too long for this kid to get into. Like the opening sequence is just, it sets you right off for what you're going to be prepared to watch.
Yes.
It's
there's moments of these practical effects, like I said, the door being but was like obviously a bright light behind it for some weird reason. It didn't look like daylight. It looked like ET's ship was landing.
This is funny. I was like, are we looking at an alien? Like, what the hell are we looking at right now? And then this kid comes running through this,
and so the door is like why is there a door there? Like easily could have just been pushed over as it was like in a cave, but it was like a thin plywood door that like, And then
like the light's coming through all of it and the whole thing's shaking. And also like the ominous door being beaten in, I expected like this, like, so my favorite movie, RoboCop, when all of the bad guys are in this plant and the door starts shaking and then RoboCop steps in, you know what I mean? And, or like a horror movie and the monster comes, said this random doofy kid in a flight suit comes jogging through, like,
it was just weird,
all of it, none of it made like a lot of sense in this opening sequence, and it's definitely sets you up for like, oh, here we go, like this is what we're gonna be looking at.
And I'm trying to figure out, so like with those special effects, like I said, some of the practical effects weren't bad, most of them were pretty sketchy. I'm trying to think of when I'm watching. So I watched the first episode. I mentioned about the Star Trek: The Next Generation, and I'm watching the first episode of that, and then you go to watch the movies, like Generations. The problem with TV shows that become movies back in the 90s or early 2000s or 80s, 90s, and 2000s is you're using the same characters, you're using a lot of the same stats, you're using all the same, so it's just a TV show that's longer, that's on a big screen. And
and everyone has like an expectation of it then too.
So when I go to watch Generations, I'm looking at it going, this is just a longer episode of TV. Like it's just like the effects didn't get better because they had a bigger budget like that. Trying to think back on this, if this was actually a pilot, this became a TV show, would it have been a pretty good quality created TV show? Because of this was like, it looks like a movie in my opinion, like it looked like a crappy made movie, but it made it look like a movie. Would it have been a better or would they have been like, okay, $6 million for the pilot and then every episode has $100,000 budget, and then we would have had shit the rest of the time.
You better be planning on reusing that helicarrier a lot.
Maybe that was the whole problem. Was like we liked the movie
like, flying by that were like obvious, unnecessary.
It would have been
we're just filling time.
It would have been the movie that same cut scenes, like a helicopter taking off, and then every episode is this exact same helicopter taking off every single time. It's like, wait, it was nighttime. This is daytime. I don't understand what's going on.
It's the old animated fight sequences there, where it's just the same, like. The Voltron forming every time and pulling his sword every time, because that way we don't have to redraw anything. Yeah. This probably would have had an awful lot of like the helicarrier flying by, the Quinjets like zipping through clouds. Like it would have had
someone holding one like. Right. Those characters go.
So and then Nick Trey runs by. Some of this like stuff was not great. Another one that is funny. This is just one that irritated the hell out of me. Every time David Hasselhoff fires a gun, he's shooting it like gangster style.
Yeah.
What is he doing? Did
anyone
even teach David Hasselhoff how to?
So
he used to shoot a gun in Knight Rider. What is he doing?
Say that he's the name, right? He's the name on the entire show. So it's like if you have a show that has this one person on it, and you're so quote unquote lucky potentially to have this one person,
right? This
you
one
just let them do whatever the hell they want.
Like I'm sure back then,
like whatever, you shoot what you want
solely for his name.
You kick whatever you want, you watch whatever you do, whatever you want, look whatever you want, speak whatever you want, because you're the person. And is there anybody on? I mean, did we talk about David S. Goyer being the writer and Rod Hardy being the director? Like, haven't done much prior to this. Do they just like they're lucky to do this? So whatever, David, you're the actor. You can do what you want. We're the one paying. You're getting paid big bucks. Right. And then he's just doing this whole thing, and the gun that like only he could do, but it'll blow up.
Cheesy gun.
Well, I just think it's also funny with that scene specifically when they go to give him the gun. It's like obvious foreshadowing. Like, do you ever like see in a movie like there's good foreshadowing where it's like you didn't notice it until the second thing happens, and you're like, oh, that makes sense. But when you're watching the first thing, that knowing that it's gonna be foreshadowed, like the fact that he gets this thing, it blows backwards. It's like, okay, at some point in this movie, they're gonna, someone else is gonna have it. It's gonna blow backwards, and so. But maybe he just was given carte blanche and just saying, hey, do what the hell you want, whatever. Like, and then he just started following gangster style. And I don't know. We didn't go into this watching this being like, this was gonna be a freaking hell of a movie. It was like one of those things that I feel like there's certain things we talked about in our book club we have over at Galactic, that there's certain books that we absolutely need to read for book club, because we feel like as comic book fans, you surely should be in your arsenal of having read. And it's one of those things that like, there are so many comic book movies that are really good out nowadays that some of these movies like Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. or the Fantastic Four movie that we watched, or I do at some point want to watch Man-Thing, the one in 2005. There's like the Captain America movies I was talking about. He says a lot of those movies get forgotten.
There was a Man-Thing in 2005.
Yes, direct to DVD. Some of those things get forgotten.
I know what my future brings now. Talk about foreshadowing.
But like the idea that I think that it's cool because I think some of these will be forgotten, and it's not like they're bad, but it's like I watch bad things all the time. It's not like, this will be good because there's something so much better coming out. Does that mean we do never need to watch David Hasselhoff as Agent Fury? No, and that's like one of the reasons why I wanted to watch it. So it's not highly rated. 16%. It's a 16% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes and a 3.7 on IMDb. The 3.7 actually is higher than I think it should be, but that's just me. The crazy things, just like I said, biggest thing I want to say, actually, my favorite thing about the entire thing is the fact that they actually said the word life model decoy. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah. Yep.
That was cool. And that you obviously, again, more foreshadowing that when they showed that, like, obviously it's going to happen.
Yeah, you just shot, it's a life model decoy. The funny one I thought in that too was like, man, because when you first see this life model decoy and they're putting it together and they pull the face out of the water and it's only an upper torso hanging there. And I'm like, man, they got that guy together quick. And like, also every time he's moving, it's like, you could hear the joints, like the robot. And I'm like, boy, they must have got a little extra like dielectric grease in those elbows and shit, like real quick, because the life model decoy walks in, like presumably is in the fight with her.
Yes.
And then she shoots him, and like at no point did we ever like give off that it was a robot. So good job on their tech division to get the rest of that put through real quick and get them out there.
It was weird too because I never saw them on the same set at the same time though either. That was weird. I don't know why.
Nope. And where did it come from? Like, where did he like? Because they said you could take it apart.
Yeah.
Like that was one of the things. Oh yeah, for like easy whatever. So like, what did he have it in a backpack?
Yeah, there's like it was a rolling hard case, like my podcasting case.
Shot out of the air. Like, yeah, what was he?
Someone was walking in with like one of those rolling hard cases, like my podcasting case. You just open it up, his arms come out, you click the arms in.
You start slapping them together.
Yeah.
And there's like, you go ahead of me and keep track of what's going on, and I'll catch up.
Well, he does say like 5 minutes earlier.
We never did get like where the hell this thing came from. But you know what? And to be fair, there's plenty of times in Marvel comic books where Nick Fury or Doom are killed, and then they're like, "Oh, it was a robot." Like, and we never explained like how long this was a robot or where it came from.
We're about to get.
So I guess it fits.
In a sense, we're about to get that too with Secret Invasion, the new show. So. Watch Agent S.H.I.E.L.D. if you want. Don't. Honestly, it's not really worth watching anyway. It's hard to find if you're in the US anyway. So don't forget that.
Not really.
But the reason we talked about this, the reason I
you know what, if it was an entertainment, it was if you want some weird, fun stuff after listening to this, go check it out.
The reason I wanted us to watch this and talk about it was the fact that Secret Invasion drops on June 21st, which is featuring Nick Fury. It's Nick Fury's, it's Samuel L. Jackson's first lead role, technically, because Nick Fury has been in all like 7 Avengers, or 8 Marvel movies, but he's been in post-credit scenes. And he's been in like a supporting role character, not an actual main character. Nick Fury is the main character of Secret Invasion, coming out on Disney Plus June 21st. It's the first Disney Plus series of 2023, which is crazy because we thought we were going to get like 8 of them, and now we're only going to get like 3. And they're all happening at the second half of the year. I think it's just a restructuring thing over at Disney. But Nick Fury uncovers a conspiracy for a group of shape-shifting Skrulls to infiltrate Earth in positions of power around the world, recruiting Everett K. Ross, Maria Hill, Talos to stop it and save humanity. So I've been looking forward to this. You know that. One of my favorite comic books of all time is the 8-issue miniseries Secret Invasion from Marvel Comics, created by Brandon Michael Bendis. And so I'm excited for this to come on to Disney Plus, and I think we're gonna get some twists and turns, and like I don't think it's gonna be crazy. I think it's gonna be an insane show to watch because of the fact that who are we gonna find out are gonna be Skrulls? Like, who is gonna be like, when you read, I don't want to spoil the comic because I really think people should read it, but when you find out that Spider-Woman is a Skrull, it's like, holy shit! Like, what are we gonna get in this thing? Kind of like at the end of Captain Marvel and the post-credit scene, there was there was other. Which was the one where they found out?
I was gonna say it was one where they were they SHIELD agents?
Yes, hold on. I wrote an article.
Endgame, maybe.
It came out today. The article came out today, as we're recording this, of what to watch before.
Because there was the post credit scene, and you found out that it was Skrulls in the car that were given the technology or something, whatever it was. I remember that end credit scene, and that was like Spider-Man.
Was it Spider-Man Far From Home? No, yeah, Far From Home. So, yes, wow. I think it was Far From Home. The post-credit scene in Far From Home is possibly more crucial than the overall story that of the MCU for the rest of the film.
Yeah, for the rest of the MCU stuff.
It revealed that Talos and his wife are impersonating Fury and Hill. And so the fact that they're both impersonating Fury and Hill, how long have they been impersonating Fury and Hill? Who else is in this, and so on and so forth.
Does anyone know that? Like, does Fury know that or not? Like,
and that's the idea that in the comic books. So the difference I didn't like about the Skrulls we've seen so far in the MCU is that they've been fairly nice in wanting to help.
Yes, they're like hero / like you feel bad for them.
Yes.
For the most part, like there was the cool fight scenes with Captain Marvel and her chasing him and stuff, but overall the Skrulls were like sympathetic, like, oh, they were hiding and like they were gonna get wiped out and stuff, and that's not what you get Skrulls in the comics. No. Like, they're not a nice race. They're a conquering race. They infiltrate and then they conquer and take over and then leave you high and dry. Like, basically,
this is what we just talked about, the LMD, the life model decoy. This is a very similar sense in that idea of, oh, someone got shot, and then you see them shapeshift back to their Skrull, and like, oh, it's not actually Spider-Woman, it's so on and so forth. So that's a thing. Do we get like factions of Skrulls in the MCU where it's like there's a good faction who's trying to like save and want to be partners with the Earth, and there's the other faction that's like wants to take over the Earth, and so that's where we see this.
To at this point, right? Yeah. I think that's where the story arc has to go at this point, because we could get into the idea that we saved them back in the what the hell Captain Marvel take place in the 90s, right? Yes. That Nick Fury saved them, and then find out that he saved them and they started invading Earth, and that they were never good, and then be like, that could be his big mistake, like, oh crap. Or do we get into the fact that they're sort of like a terrorist organization deal, and there's like the group of them that are going wild out there, going rogue.
Do you find it interesting at all, Paul, that they use this as a 6-issue mini series on Disney Plus, which is great. I'm happy about it being 6 episodes and not one movie or one, like 6 episodes. I feel like it's like giving us a 3-hour, 4-hour movie and giving us some suspense to be built and every week to week stuff. But do you find it interesting that it wasn't a story arc? But do you find it interesting that it wasn't like a phase? Like, I feel like this would have been one of those ones where like there was so many times we talked about this. It's like 176 issues. It's like 176 issues that are in the Secret Invasion thing. And it's the same thing I felt with like what Civil War could have been an entire thing, when they really kind of focus on a small portion of it. And there's aspects of it that trickle into other movies and other things. But like
this definitely, I think over Civil War, this could have been a phase that also would have been like, I think Civil War, if you did that as a phase, it's going to start being very repetitive of you're on this side and they're on that side and they're trying to enlist or whatever, versus this could have gone over a phase and had like the Skrulls being the main villain and just be interesting to follow them and what's going on. And but I'm so glad that they didn't try to squeeze this into one movie at the same time and gave us a series, because it needs to be developed.
Who knows? Maybe this is a, like how like we have Kang and we have like the multiverse and all this stuff. Who knows? This isn't like a weaving thread through the next 10 movies, that this is a kickoff for Secret Invasion. And this is a holy crap at the end of the series. We're like, we don't even know how far this goes. And that sets up the rest of the, that there's other big bad villains we're going to, but there's some background, kind of like what Civil War was, in the sense that we're still dealing with the ramifications of the Severe Registration Act and what came from them and so on and so forth. And we dealt with Scarlet Witch and her, like being targeted and things like that. So we've dealt with all that stuff in the MCU. Maybe this is that, like, this is, instead of being a 6-issue series or 6-episode series that's done, that is actually is a 6-episode series that kicks off a secondary thread in the MCU.
Works its way into another MCU, whether it be another large arc or maybe it gets its own movie to wrap it all out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we've talked about this before. I'm more and more in favor of them doing series. Yeah. I would rather have 6 hours of content for these than to try to squish a major, arc. I mean, perfect example where I hated Thor: Love and Thunder, but also we took God Bomb, God Butcher, and picked out very small portions of it And we didn't give the main villain Gore enough screen time. Like he could have been on there so much more. So like doing this gives us time to build and hide Skrulls and what are they doing? And I would be in favor personally of just seeing Marvel do this for everything. Like, I mean, I love just going to the theater this weekend and seeing Spider-Man. What is it? Into the Spider-Verse is the first. This is Across the Spider-Verse. Across the Spider-Verse. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed going to the theater and seeing it.
So I wonder if like we get to the point where now it's like
depth.
Like you mentioned about when wrapping it up. It's like Marvel's always gonna have movies, always. And does this give them extra pages to write a story and then bring that story into the movie? So we have now seen that, in Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, we see the stuff that happened in Scarlet Witch, WandaVision.
Yeah.
Come into other things. The holiday special for Disney Plus is now led into the Guardians of the Galaxy movie #3, and it does stuff from Secret Invasion, then go over into the movies. And like this is the first series like this that potentially has large ramifications.
Yeah, much larger tie-in versus your small pieces.
Let's be honest, we have this, and then in the November we have the Marvels, which we know there's a connection to the Skrulls and Captain Marvel. So like, is this going to be like 6 episodes and then bam, a couple months later, bam, we have more Skrulls and Captain Marvel, and then that leads into more and so on and so forth. So I'm all about this because you know me, I'm a Secret Invasion buff. I love Secret Invasion. The one thing I will say is it probably would have pissed a lot more fringe moviegoers or comic book fans to have the Secret Invasion be a larger thing, because it would have been the same thing as at the end of a movie, someone going, haha, it's a dream sequence. Not actually happening. And so that's kind of where you get in this Skrulls thing, where it's like something happens, and then you find out it's a Skrull, and this other character is actually over here living in Tahiti, and you don't know that they're actually not the same person. And now all that stuff that actually happened doesn't actually happen, and so on and so forth. So I mean,
you get the annoying
Skrulls still kill people and still do bad things. But I'm saying, like, if someone dies, they can easily bring them back in the Marvel universe. I mean, hell, we have characters that have died already that could come back in the future Marvel movies. I mean, freaking Tony Stark could actually come back in the future as oh crap, it was just a Skrull. Haha. He's actually living.
Boy,
and so not that I want that to happen.
Too. That'd be terrible.
What I'm saying is they have the ability to do that. Same thing with the multiverse, to have characters come back, even if it's another version of a character.
I think the multiverse is a good potential write-in to bring back if you got somebody you wanted to finish a story with or something, or if you need to change actors for something, you can. Well, I mean,
I would not have a problem with it. Like, say for Tony Stark, for example, I would not have a problem in the sense that in Armor Wars, the movie that's coming out in a couple of years, to have Tony Stark from another dimension come in, played by Robert Downey Jr. for like a 5-minute clip, and then leave. Like go back to his, your interdimensional travel. You see Tony Stark as a different Tony Stark is not Iron Man. It's just Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark walking around town. Like, I don't have a problem with those. If you bring back a character from a multiverse or is a Skrull, so on and so forth, and make them a major character moving forward, that's a different story. I think that gets rid of the fact that death doesn't mean anything in the Marvel universe, kind of like Loki. Loki will never die in the Marvel universe.
No.
It's like it's died 1,000 times in the Marvel universe.
Some of that's Loki's character I like, because it's the idea that he's...
I know, but still.
Yeah, the Voldemort thing. He leaves a bit of himself here, there, and elsewhere, and then he pops up again. You can never be rid of Loki. What I feel like we need to have is stop having Thor give a damn. Like, Loki dies, Thor, stop having like the run down
or being like
in your face, and I will avenge him, because who knows? Maybe eventually Loki's gonna run out of lives, and he's not gonna come back, and this could be the time. But overall, you're like, nah.
Well, Thor still gets tricked. Oh my god.
Well, you know what? He's a big, pretty, blonde, dumb dude. Like, realistically, like David Hasselhoff could have been Thor back then, apparently.
That's pretty funny, yeah.
If you need something smashed, you go to Thor, or hit with lightning or something. Go to Thor. But if you're looking for a great mastermind plan, probably leave Thor out of it. And that's pretty much like it's the same in the comics as in the Chris Hemsworth does well for that.
Yeah.
Like in the comics, Thor is strong, but I don't know that it always goes that like he's not particularly wise the way that Odin.
No.
They're fighting over something, and it's because Thor is so like nearsighted to something and so like just tunnel vision on it, and Odin's like, you're not seeing the big picture because you just won't, like he's so like bullheaded and everything. So
it's an interesting thing, and Loki dying, not dying, whatever. But I just do think that deaths should mean something in the sense that I've always respected The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones and all these other TV shows and movies where they kill someone and an actually person stays dead, because it means that like every episode you don't know what the hell's going to happen. Like they killed Rick, even though he's coming back technically, but like they killed Rick in The Walking Dead. Net. Yes, you watch a movie, you're like, if this like we watched Seinfeld, and you're like, something bad happens, like Kramer moved to freaking California, like he's not moving to California, he's coming back. It's because that aspect of it's same thing with comic books. It's like, oh my gosh, they're killing Miss Marvel, she's coming back, you know she is. So it's
I'm having a hard time with that, where they just have killed Miss Marvel, and I'm sort of like, where there should be a feeling, there isn't anymore, because you're like, well, how long are we killing Miss Marvel?
Here's my theory on that, by the way. It's the Ultimate Universe. They're gonna bring back Miss Marvel as an Ultimate character and not have the Miss Marvel regular, because the Ultimate Universe is coming back. So
we have the Ultimate crossover this summer.
We don't have time for that right now.
So that's gonna be a whole podcast in and of itself.
Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a movie we watched. We
watched it.
Yes, there you go. But Secret Invasion is gonna make it look even worse, because Secret Invasion is gonna be so much better coming out here. On Disney Plus, June 21st, 2003.
Can't wait.
And we have a couple of articles either up on the website or going to be up on the website by the time this drops. So there's one of what to watch. There's the weird what to watch when I do these what to watch things before a movie. Like for an example, I have what to watch before the Flash movie, and that was like, obviously you watch like his first appearances in the DCEU. You watch like obviously Justice League or Zack Snyder's Justice League. It was a little bit easier to watch.
Did Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. make the cut for the must-watch Secret Invasion?
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
I don't think so. I don't remember now. I wrote a lot of these articles I write so long ago that it's like, no, maybe you put it under the I usually have like a bonus section at the end.
Right.
Where it's like,
if you want to watch something, you got an hour and a half to kill. Let me introduce you to Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., starring David Hasselhoff.
Let me see here. I read Infinity War. So there's a couple like it makes sense because the post-credit scenes actually make more sense than the actual movie, but it's worth watching. Oh no, I did not put it in there. What I put in there as the extra credit was to read Secret Invasion, the comic book, because I think that would have actually slightly more to do with this than Nick Fury itself. So,
and boy, I don't know. Now it's really hard because I've always run into, if I have just recently read it makes it that much harder to watch it, because I'm like, that's not what happened in the book.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So,
but if you want to get an idea of what Skrulls do,
because I haven't read Secret Invasion in years.
Yeah.
So watching it now will be okay. But if we had just read it for a book club, it'd probably be annoying the crap out of me. I can't let stuff go.
I'm really saying to people that are outside the Marvel or comic book universe, if you want to read a comic book, read it. First of all, it's unbelievable. I love it. The second reason is it kind of gives you an idea what Skrulls are and what could happen in this. Not the story itself, but like what Skrulls do, the shape-shifting part of it, the impersonating people, that kind of stuff gives you that kind of a basis.
It's part of their like military plans, right? Like they definitely use this to the best of their abilities when it comes to what they do.
Yes. And instead of just shape-shifting into like David Hasselhoff in the United States, they capture they do other things to make it so that David Hasselhoff isn't walking around in California while they're in Maine. It's this whole like replacing the person's body instead of actually like just shape-shifting like other shapeshifters of Duel, just like, oh, I'm gonna be Paul Eaton for today. They literally replace them in a sense on Earth, and that's
use that espionage ability. They're doing it for reasons.
And it's long term too. It's not just short term, like I'm gonna go rob a bank by acting as the bank manager to the bank manager for months on end, and then they rob the bank kind of thing. I don't know why I use that as an example, because that's not an example for the comic book.
No, it's not, but that's okay. We'll go with it.
But check out Galactic Comics and Collectibles on 547 Hammond Street in Bangor, Maine. GalacticComicsandCollectibles.com. If you want to join our book club, let us know. Send me an email, hello@capesandtights.com or at galacticcomicsbgr@gmail.com. And we'll make it happen.
Email our website, the galacticcomicscollectibles.com website. There's an email option in there. You can send an email right to us.
And ask, we're joining this month, the month of June, we're reading Wind. But if you're too late to get into it now, next month will be Flashpoint. And so let Paul know or myself know, and we'll get you hooked up on that, and we'll figure out a way to get you on the Discord. And that way you can ask questions if you can't be in person. We meet once a month on the last Tuesday of the month. But otherwise, and in the future, if enough remote people want to join us, we'll start Zooming. It will happen. So check that out. Otherwise, Paul, don't watch Nick Fury, but watch Secret Invasion. I appreciate you coming on, Paul. Again, thanks a lot, and I'll see you on Wednesday.
I'll be here, Justin.
That was a bonus episode of the Capes and Tights podcast right here on capesandtights.com, featuring Paul Eaton. Yeah, Galactic Comics and Collectibles, Hammond Street in Bangor, Maine, or galacticcomicsandcollectibles.com. We talked to Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., as well as previewed, Secret Invasion, a much better version of what Nick Fury looks like in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Thanks, everybody. Visit us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Find us at Capes and Tights podcast on there, as well as Apple, Spotify, all your major podcasting platforms. Subscribe, rate, review. If you can, leave 5 stars. That'd be amazing. As well as you can find us on YouTube if you want to watch the version of the podcast that's a video version, or on our website, capesandtights.com, which also includes much more content, comic book reviews, news, and all that stuff. So thanks, everybody. Have a good one.